Yes, Maxine, that picture is real. I've doctored it just a little bit by putting the SPTV banner over old Billy's eyes because I thought that was good for a laugh. But the artist that painted that absolutely painted Bill Clinton in Monica Lewinsky's dress. That was purchased by the sicko himself, Epstein, and that was hanging in his living room. Apparently, when you walked into the New York house and banged a left, it was in the very first room. So here's what the latest is. The courts, in their wisdom, said that on the first of the year, they were going to release all of the documents that are in the Epstein case. There has been a ton of speculation, right? There are over 177 Jane and John Does listed in this. A lot of them are not going to be released because of the fact that they are underage victims in this case, right? These are people that were being victimized by the scumbags whose names we want to see released. Okay, those are going to be redacted. There are some speculations that have already happened. For instance, as you saw on my thumbnail, number 36, right? Bet the farm, John Doe 36 is Bill Clinton. Everybody that has looked at this thing and everybody that seems to be even slightly in the know have said, yeah, that's Billy Clinton. 55 times he's mentioned in this. That's more than any other of the Does. Now, they said that we would release this on January the 1. Now, of course, January the 1 is a holiday. Now, I thought that there was maybe a chance that they would just leak it onto some of the services, right? Because there are digital services where you can look at court records. So I was holding out hope that, how did Squirrel get her name? Rosa, I can't wait to tell you the answer to that question. That's a really good one. What's that? No, I'm definitely going to scroll off because that's a really good one. But because it is the first of the, I was really in all kinds of excited that we might see this thing on the wire because they kept building up to this January 1. We're not seeing it. So it's probably going to be tomorrow, and it's probably going to be in a hard copy format. The way this works, believe it or not, is what happens is companies like Westlaw, right? They pay attorneys, and in some cases paralegals, and in some cases just regular Joes from off the street. They pay these people to go in and grab court documents and upload them into their system. If you think about it, how many courts are there in the U.S. that every single day, right, these things are getting, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of cases that are being decided on the daily across the U.S. And all of them are going to end up in Westlaw or on LexisNexis, the hell's it called? It's one or the other. That Lexis thing, right? They're all going to end up on these different platforms, which are the law books you used to have, times 1,000. It's every bit of information you could ever want. We used to have those at our disposal as convicts. We could go into a room where there was a dedicated computer, and the only thing that computer did was allow you to get on to LexisNexis, or I can't remember which order that goes in. I have a real struggle with that. It's either LexisNexis or Lexis, but we were able to get on there and look up anything we wanted. This was problematic for the prison system because what it meant is if you were worth a fart on that computer, you could look up anybody's paperwork and figure out what they were in there for. So back to Epstein really quickly. We are not going to see anything until tomorrow, I think, at a minimum. I'm still checking. Lexis comes first. Thank you, Goosebumps. LexisNexis. I'm going to be checking all of the services all day. I've got people that are in the know on all of that stuff. But here's something we're not going to get a chance to talk about tomorrow. I promise. Tomorrow we're going to be in the weeds. We're going to be talking about all of these names that come popping up. Now, the way that this is, my understanding of this is that the way that this is articulated, they're pretty out in the open about this individual. This individual was involved with with underage people. This individual was not, but we saw them there. There's a lot of that goes on. And you're going to hear a whole bunch of that crap tomorrow, right? You're going to hear the Alan Dershowitzes and people who say, you know what? I went there. I didn't know what I was going there. I didn't realize what it was. I went to a party at this guy's house on a couple of different occasions, and I thought they were political gatherings. I had no idea, anything. This is my understanding from everything I've read. When you step foot inside any of these properties, you instantly knew you were in a freak's playground. not just because there were underage girls milling about the place at all times, which is creepy as hell. But no, far more than that. There were pictures of them on the wall. There was really bizarre artwork everywhere, like the thumbnail that you just saw, right? With a picture of our former president in a dress. By the way, a blue dress. You got the symbolism in that, did you not? That he's sporting Monica Lewinsky's dress in that picture. I mean, whatever. I mean, whatever the artist is trying to come, get across. And apparently the artist is somewhat famous or whatever. And I'm sure he paid her a fortune for it. Probably of some government agency's money. Guarantee you, whatever he was doing, buying these islands and doing all that, it was probably our tax dollars, right? Somewhere along the way, it was probably our tax dollars setting up that entire scam so that the people who run the alphabet agencies could control what the people up on the hill do, right? Because if you want to fund something that costs over $50 million, you got to go ask permission. I mean, what the hell does the government do that doesn't cost $50 million? They got toilet seats that cost that. So if you got to go up to Congress all the time and beg for money to go, raid this country or destabilize that country, well, then you probably need to raise a little extra cash when you can. Or have a bunch of politicians in your back pocket. How's the easiest way to do that? Well, you can get them high, but you know what? Everybody gets high, right? Even the people that don't get high will go, oh, who cares, man? The guy did a little blow. Who cares? You don't think we'll get that? I mean, hell, do you remember the mayor of Washington, D.C.? Anybody? Nope. Good. Very close, though. Marion Barry. Very close. Marion Barry was the mayor of Washington, D.C. until he got caught with a very cheap suit on, one that he bought off the rack, I think at Sears. It was absolutely awful, but it had a street value of about $4,600. The lining of the coat, which a lot of addicts do, they'll rip the pocket so that when they put something in their pocket, it doesn't go in there. It falls all the way down to the bottom. Well, they dumped enough crack out of that coat, to keep the boys from Motley Crue busy for about 4.5 hours. So obviously they sent him to jail. This was an undercover sting with a prostitute. That sent him to jail. When he got out of jail, because we have really great memories in the US of A, they reelected him. Nobody cares. So you can't get somebody by blackmailing them with drugs, but holy God, I mean, if you catch him with a 16-year-old, I mean, what would that person not do to keep that from coming out? Especially if you're a master of the universe, right? Especially if you're somebody that gets anything they want. And I'm telling you, the people that get elected to power in this country don't think they're in there for the 200 grand or for them wanting to serve the country. I mean, these people live lives you can't imagine. The example I always use is, what if you are elected to office and you're from Hawaii, right? So you fly to Washington to vote. Think that's coming out of your pocket? Of course not, right? No, that's paid for. That's it's all coming out of our tax dollars, right? So they fly him out to or her out to Washington, D.C. to vote. Then they put him on a plane or her on a plane to go back home and watch their kid play in a soccer game. And then they fly him back to D.C. for the next vote. And this just happens, right? All the time. Anytime they need to do anything, we pay for it. They're not renting cars. Someone's picking them up at the airport. Someone's taking them everywhere they go. They got some of the shops for them. The politicians got to go. But that's neither here nor there. The last time we were together, I played a clip and I want to play it again, right? I really want you to see this. And I want you to pay attention to this thing. And tell me, is it just because I'm a crim? Is it because I spent some time breaking the law that this disturbs the hell out of me? Because maybe other people don't see what I see. Calhouni, can you pull that up? All right, here we go. Watch this, please. There you go.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
Is there a lesson?
Is that the creepiest thing that you've ever seen in your entire life? Am I alone in this?
Looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
What the hell is that? Well, he's dead. So, yeah, I guess you got to be careful. That's how you answer that? When someone says, what is your takeaway of the fact that you hung out with a pedophile? That's your comeback? Well, he's dead. So I guess you got to look out. I don't know, man. Honest to God, if he was a mafia don, tell you what, put my voice to it. Same exact words, but put my voice to it. Hey, Tommy, what's your takeaway? Yeah, well, he's dead. So better be careful. Words sound a little different, right? Don't let that soft voice trick you, man. For real, that's creepy. Any way you shake it. That's just creepy. You know what's crazy, Bach, buddy? This is really interesting. And then I'm going to tell you how I named my cat. This is really interesting, Bach, buddy, because I had a very unusual thing happen to me. So I was in prison on a case, and there was another case that I was accused of after the fact, right? And I had said to the lawyer, and this was not my wife, this was a subsequent attorney, not the one. And by the way, I'm not married. I get this question every day. Apparently, I wasn't clear about this. My ex-wife was an attorney. I've been divorced for a long time, but on my second case, there was another thing pending, and I said to my attorney, you know what's horse crap is? I had text messages that could prove everything this dude's saying is a lie. I said, but we're talking about 6 years ago, right? I mean, even if you could go find my phone, they said, oh no, we can find the text messages. You're sure of this? I said, yeah. When? I said, right around the time I was arrested. I mean, within 2 or 3 weeks of me being busted, because the guy I was communicating with was an undercover. I mean, not an undercover, but a snitch. And that was what the argument was about, was what the snitch had done. And they went back and got my text messages 5 years later.
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying, right? And I said to my attorney, how the hell is this possible? He said that huge building in Bountiful, Utah that's owned by the NSA records every single text message, every single email, every single phone call, anything that happens going in and out of our country. How's that? So when you hear things on like the major news and they go, I wonder if this dude was colluding with that dude or that woman was colluding with this guy. And if the call originated in this country, it was recorded. Poof. End of story. It was recorded. Now, how does that not violate our rights? Well, they don't go looking for it until they get a judge to sign a warrant. And when the judge signs the warrant, then they can go to Bountiful and they can start doing what's called info harvesting. Does that make you feel comfortable? But trust and believe that they're recording everything. But because of the laws that we have in this country, you can't just use things like that, right? You got to have, there are entire processes that's things, and you have rights. You have Fourth Amendment rights, which protect you from people doing exactly that, right? Listening to things that you're doing when you're not breaking the law. And I'm not doing tinfoil hat stuff, people. You understand all this is true. In order to use your cell phone, right, you have to ping off of 3 different towers. The term triangulate, they can find you wherever you are at any time via your cell phone. So, these geniuses who go out and rob banks and do things and they got cell phones on them, guess what, man? You don't have to make a phone call. Your phone has to continually send out something to let the towers know where you're at, just in case phone calls come in, right? I'm simplifying the hell out of that and probably not explaining it correctly. But the bottom line is, doesn't matter whether you're making a phone call, receiving a phone call. If you're driving around, you're pinging off of every tower, right? And it's always going to know where you are. And these kind of things are real. They really are. And I don't know how we got on them. Let me tell you about my cat. I decided to get an office pussy cat. And I said, I am going to get a cabin cat for the lifeboat. And I'm going to let the crew name the kitty. So a bunch of names came out. Captain was one of the names that the cat would suggest. There was a bunch of different names, but Squirrel was one of them because, and I know this is silly talk, and you're going to go, no, Tommy, no, but no, for real. I've been known to, from time to time, squirrel off of the subject matter. No, I do. No, I do. Thank you, but I do. I do occasionally squirrel off. And for that reason, everybody thought it would be very funny to name the cat Squirrel. So when we allowed the voting process to take place, Squirrel won. Now it gets funnier. No, really, Josh, I do really. I can see where it probably surprises you, especially if you've only been here a couple of months, but you'll see it eventually. I occasionally squirrel off. And can't keep my mind down the rabbit hole. Hello, Rabbit. It is an honor. It's always an honor. So the cat's name is Squirrel. Now, I go into the rescue to get the kitty, and there are cages. You know, this was not a dog and cat rescue. This was a cat rescue. So all of the rooms had cages in there with kitties. And I walked in, and I'm looking for a cat, and I found Squirrel, and she was a tortie, and I love torties. So I went up to the woman and said, I want the cat in cage 3. And she looked at me like I was just absolutely stupid and said, do you know how many cages are here? I was like, yeah, the third one. And she's like, the third one in what room? And I said, I don't know. She said, go get the card off of the cage, because the cats are all already named, and that just helps them with the process and all that. So I went and took the card off of the cage, and on the card was the name Squirrel. True story. Anybody that's on the boat, you can go back and watch the videos of it. But so the cat was already named Squirrel before I got there. And I picked her without ever seeing that, swear to you. And I know that is just absolutely crazy, but it's the truth. It was destiny. Of all the words on planet Earth, my tortie just happened to be named before I got there. And it was funny because I went, like, I freaked out, right? I was like, her name is Squirrel. And the woman's like, yeah, but you could change it to whatever you want. I'm like, no, like, that's her name. And she was like, great, good. Have fun with it. Like, I was not conveying, I wasn't doing a great job of communicating why that was just so damn cool. But yeah, I was destiny that, and this is why Squirrel is my girl. Again, with the exception of a few indiscretions with my brother, but that's cat-like. There's not much you can do. Correct. Squirrel's an angel, no matter what she does. She includes occasionally sleeping with my brother.
He was with me last night.
Oh, hear that? Yeah, that's lovely. He said she was with him last night. Tramp. So this is what is going to get lost. What's going to get lost is this. Every single person that showed up there needed to come back off of that plane and start screaming at the top of their lungs. You know what I just saw? There were girls there that could not have been 18. You know what I mean? And they were not the daughters of anybody there. Don't miss me with that crap. They weren't dressed that way. They weren't acting that way. There were massage rooms all over the place. Like, when you read how this was going down, people, there's nobody that showed up at those parties that didn't know what those parties were about. They may not have participated in them, but you know what? That doesn't give you a friggin' pass to go home and keep your mouth shut. So all of these guys that get all indignant as hell, screaming about how I didn't know, right? You know what? Miss me with that crap. I walk into a house and you got a picture of naked kids on your wall, I'm calling the cops. Go ahead and call me a rat. But I'm calling the cops. If you got pictures of naked kids on your wall, you can go ahead and prove to them that that's art. But I'm calling the cops, because that's jacked up, right? Yeah, you know what? They didn't want to smoke with the massage. Joshy Doy, you could be right. They didn't want to smoke with somebody, right? Because nobody did. Not one person came back and said, whoa. How about all the people that showed up there that names you like, right? Names I like. Tom Cruise was there. I mean, Tom Hanks. Nobody likes Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise doesn't like Tom Cruise. Xenu doesn't like Tom Cruise. Tom Hanks, right? You look at Tom Hanks, you go, oh, no, not Tom Hanks. Yeah, Tom Hanks. You know what? SJ says there's two kinds of people in this world, those who speak up at the moment and those who remain silent. I've done both. In fact, I've probably done a lot more of being silent than I had of speaking up. But I believe it was Bill the Bard, that said the courageous man dies only once, and the coward 1,000 times. So you know what? All of those people that showed up at that island, if they just came home and shut their mouth, and they're cowards, at best, they're cowards, right? But at worst, they're complicit. And I want to tell you something. When we really look at this thing and you step back and look at it, you realize that, no, I'm sorry, Tom Hanks was there, Lydia Von Stretchclaw. Now, we'll hear more, right, tomorrow. I'm not telling you that he slept with anybody, right? That's not what I'm telling you. But I'm telling you that he's listed in those documents. And there's a lot of people like that are names that are going to bum you out. There are a lot of names in there that are going to bum you out. There is a picture of Oprah at a party of his. Absolutely. Oprah is tied to this. There are a lot of names that are going to bum you out. I'm telling you right now. And I'm not saying that Oprah had, sex with kids, right? I'm not. Or Vera Wang or any of these people, but they sure as hell saw the art. And they saw girls there that were way too young to be there. Okay, so the documents I've read basically what is there. It's so redacted, it's incredible, right? But you can read what the accusations are. You can read that these girls were going off with guys one after another, right? And getting a couple of $100 each time. And they were visibly underage, some as young as 12. You're going to tell me that I'm telling you right now, man, I go to a party and there are 12-year-old girls dressed scantily, mingling around with adults. I'm calling the cops. Right? Or the news or the feds. But I'm not going to come home and go, I didn't really do anything while I was there. So just so you guys know, the 12-year-old, I didn't go back for a massage with her like the other dudes did. I just kept that shut in my mouth and never said a word about it because I can't see it from my house. Right? Can't see that crap from my house. You know what, Ann? I agree with you. Doug Kramer was one of those cats that was very, very vocal about not only about everything and anything that he was passionate about. I was
There's some anxious dudes right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of anxious people right now. There are a lot of people who didn't have a very happy new year. I promise you. And here's the thing: as Americans, right, we got to demand that heads roll when these lists come out tomorrow. Honestly, you're going to tell me that the 77 employees of this little James Island that showed up there every single day and worked in stints where they had to live on the island, right? They didn't know what was going on there. How are they not complicit in that? How is that not accessory too? For real. So if I'm a chef and I go to your house and I cook your food every day and you got a meth lab in the living room, I'm just a chef, right? Hey man, I just cook burgers. You know what he does now? He cooks for Jimmy Kimmel at a restaurant Jimmy Kimmel owns. That dude ought to be in a joint. Honest to God, you're going to tell me he didn't know what was going on there? And every other employee, I'm sorry, people, but it doesn't pass the smell test, man. Please tell us what you think about Depp playing in Alice in Wonderland and whatever he's doing now. Listen, I loved both of those films. They don't have a lot to do with Alice in Wonderland, in all honesty. You know what I mean? They are adaptations of the original story that really take a lot of license. They intermingle Alice and Through the Looking Glass, the two different books, into the first story. So when they did the second story, they had to create characters that didn't exist, but I loved them. I loved both stories, and I think that they're a fantastic tribute to what Lewis Carroll, the pseudonym Lewis Carroll did with the story. But and I thought that Depp's portrayal of the Hatter was fantastic, and the special effects that made his eyes the way that they were and everything else. I think it was a fantastic film. Great piece of cinema. And you know what? One of the last movies I think that I can remember watching, like a modern film, because I was really fired up about that one. And it was one of the last ones that I watched all the way through. And I enjoyed it. But Sassy Girl, Ensign, looking amazing in green. Thank you so much. Where was this list of names found? Okay, excellent question, Tammy M. It's not a list of names that were found. What this is this. Ghislaine, how did you say it? Ghislaine, sorry. I just love that. Ghislaine Maxwell was partners with Jeffrey Epstein. Her job was to, and I quote, procure the nubiles for her boss, right? This was a low-life woman. But she said some things about one of the victims besmirched this victim's reputation. And in return, the victim sued. And this, of course, led to discovery. In the course of this lawsuit, there were a ton of names that came out. Right? These were people that were actually victims on the island in some cases, and in some cases he had multiple properties, and he was flying girls back and forth to these multiple AKA pimp, right? AKA pimp. This dude was a pimp. Ghislaine Maxwell was, she procured stuff. She was what do they call that person? Actually, it's a chicken hawk. If you really want to know the truth, I believe that term is a chicken hawk. The chicken hawk is the one that goes and finds the person. Usually they're of the same sex. Right. So they're less intimidating, and they bring that person back to the pimp. Disgusting stuff. But what she is a reprehensible human being. But this brought discovery, and discovery brought 177 names as the most recent. You know what? She very well may have been born into this cult. Love it. Very well may have been. But you know something? At some point you break that chain, because what she did is just horrific. You know what? Whether they're male, female, whatever, guess what? Everybody involved in this needs to get taken care of. They all need to be. Nice boy, but he's got that toe drag. Always dragging his toes, that is. We need to make sure that every single person involved in this answers. So if you're not going to get charged, I think the world should know that you worked there for how long? Every single day witnessing this? For real. If it's not going to be criminal charges, if it's not going to be something like that, I don't think you get a pass. The next time you do an interview and someone says, so you were on the island? Look, I went there. It was for a political dinner. I saw nothing. How come that not one interviewer says, you didn't see little kids walking around dressed scantily? Right? You flew in there on dude's jet. He notoriously had women on the jet just about every time he was going in and out. Right? These women were very, very young. They were girls. And very often they were dressed scantily as 1970s style stewardesses. Don't tell me you didn't see it. Right? That's BS. And where are the flight logs? And why are politicians stopping those flight logs from coming out? Who is the golden goose that they do not want us to know was kicking it on that island? Right? I mean, why can't we know? We already know Bill Clinton went there a gazillion times, right? We already know that his wife went there with him, or not with him, but went there to that island as well. 6 trips, I think. Right? So we know a bunch of the people that have been going back and forth to that island. And they must have had some boys on that island as well, right? Because Kevin Spacey went there a lot. And we know his preferences. Question: have you heard about the Stanford prison experiment? Oh, yes. Do you think it's possible people constantly surrounded with that become what surrounded them? I do. And the Stanford prison experiment is one of the most fascinating things ever. If you're not familiar with it, please research it. It's fascinating. And do I think that there is a form of, I don't know what you want to call it. That's a great way to refer to it. It's almost like a Stockholm syndrome kind of a thing, where eventually you just kind of become like the people that the scum that you're around. You can very easily find clips of the chauffeur that worked for Epstein. And he says, I drove Ghislaine Maxwell around to massage parlors where she would go in with a stack of business cards and sometimes come back out with girls who were very, very young. In hindsight, I should have known what was going on. In hindsight? What in the hell did you think was going on in foresight? Like, when you were there in the moment, what did you think was going on? You were going to massage parlors, right? You worked for a billionaire. And his girl is driving around handing out business cards to girls who look like they're in high school. You needed to look back on this through a different lens. Miss me with that BS. So when this list comes out and we start, honeypot is right. Whoever said that. Who has the most to lose? It's probably someone who is well loved and respected. That's who the golden goose is. And I'm going to guess a name that we probably don't know, because all of these things.
What if Biden was on that?
Well, you know what? That's interesting. I mean, that's and those kind of speculations are going to go up from people on both sides of the aisle. I'm not going to do that. I really am not. But I am looking forward to seeing this list. I really am, because I find the entire thing somewhat fascinating. So yesterday, somebody said, you know what, Jeffrey Epstein is low hanging fruit. Like, I'm going to grab these things and hold on one second. Oh, Joe, oh my. Let me tell you something. We don't know how Epstein became a billionaire. The island he bought next to the island that all of this debauchery was taking place on was $27 million. And by all accounts, he bought it so that no girl could swim to it, because girls had tried to escape by swimming off the island, because being assaulted, 6 times, 8 times a day, they'll risk their life with sharks. In fact, the girl said in the court document that she was hoping the shark was going to get her before Ghislaine did. You're going to tell me the people that were visiting there didn't see things? That sound real to you? There were girls trying to swim the hell away. You don't think they may have said them to people milling about, good God help me, or something? Girls tried to escape, people. These were not girls that were having a good time and partying. Hey, Tommy, found you through Aaron. Glad that I did. I found you inspiring and very knowledgeable because of your advice. I started my journaling journey today. I don't know how knowledgeable I am. I am very happy that you're starting your journaling journey. That you will not regret. I promise you. I stole all that from people a lot smarter than me, but you are not going to regret journaling. I promise you, you're not. Everybody that is any good at anything, anyone who has reached any level of success at anything, journals. I promise you. You want to bet one golden goose is of the church persuasion? I would not be surprised at all, Debbie, if we find that. And you know what? There's a name on that list. This is my prediction. This is just my opinion, right? But leaks have given out so many names, right? We know of the fashion icons. We know of, forget anybody in big banking, right? Anybody in big banking is tied to this thing in one way or another. The number of bankers that were going out there is terrifying. By the way, you know who else is tied to him? Elon Musk. Now, according to everyone involved, Elon Musk was not associated with anyone underage, had nothing like, but he was getting investment advice, according to how the story goes, from Epstein. Epstein introduced him directly to somebody working in the higher echelons of investment. And the two of them met up at one of his parties. If NSA can trace phone calls 5 years later, shouldn't they be able to follow the money for a substitute teacher? You betcha, sweet tea. You betcha. I absolutely promise you. When I say you can't figure out where his money comes from, oh, there are people who can figure out where his money comes from. It's just none of them happen to be on YouTube, right? None of them even happen to be in the mainstream media. But trust and believe, there are letter agencies that know where every dollar that dude ever spent came from. My understanding is that Ken Cole 19 is gone, and that is good. We've had my wrench has taken care of them. I just saw the comment. I didn't see what he was saying. I'll be honest with you. I tend to bounce back and forth. Do you think this list will lead to any new arrests? Well, that's really an interesting question. And the answer to that question is going to lie with the 827 people that are watching me right now, right? The 3,000 or 4,000 people who are going to watch this after me, after you. And then all of the people who are going to watch everybody else that comments on this tomorrow. We can watch this like it's, Laverne and Shirley and go, wow, that was crazy. I didn't know that dude was on, and do that kind of thing. Or we can get really PO'd and we can start sending emails to people going, how is it that these people aren't being prosecuted? How is this not an accessory after the fact, right? Because that's a crime, There's a crime called accessory after the fact. You didn't do it, but I'm a bank robber, right? Let's say Johnny knew I was doing it. And I'm giving Johnny some cash. Now, he didn't have anything to do with anything, but I say to him, hey, I just need you to drop this off in my safe deposit box. Where'd that come from? I think I did in Jersey, right? He's an accessory after the fact. He's going to get about 6 years less than whatever I do. That's usually about how it works. right? Everybody that worked on that island was an accessory after the fact. Everybody. And the people that were making sure these nubiles didn't get off the island, they're not criminals. The people whose job it was to keep these girls in bungalows where they couldn't leave, right? We know who these people are. Why are they not in prison? This doesn't make sense. You know why they're not in prison? Because no one wants those people talking. Nobody wants those people talking because they know stuff that someone doesn't want getting out. For real. This all stinks. Vicky, his name has come up as somebody that has been there by all accounts, and I chased it down. By all accounts, Trump got done with him pretty early on. He banned him from Mar-a-Lago. This should not be a shocker. One of the girls that was in Epstein's stable, he basically, abduct is the wrong word, but this girl was procured from Mar-a-Lago. He had been banned from there. He had been banned from any of the Trump properties. So by all accounts, he seemed to have figured out something early on. The ones that creep me out are the people who hung out with him, Vera Wang being one, right? The people that hung out with him after his conviction. That's the list that really needs to be discussed. The people that knew he got convicted of that, right? Like he was at his parties were some highfalutin officials, right? From the British Virgin Islands, right? Those are for all intents and purposes, US politicians, right? This is a territory of ours. And they were doing everything within their power to change the sex registry laws, the sex offender registry laws in the islands so that he and his freak friends could continue to travel in and out of customs without any problems. This is after his conviction, people. And everybody's still going to parties, right? I wasn't doing, hey, I wasn't with any kids. Hey, man, you went to parties after this dude got busted. Heather Clark, well, that's the question, isn't it? I don't think this is a situation of a person who did this just to be a low, right? He came up with enough money to buy 2 islands. He had a home in New York that was worth $56 million. He went from substitute teacher to tycoon. He wasn't just rich. He had his own jet. And this was not, we're not talking about a Cessna, right? This thing looked like a Boeing. This thing was converted to have rooms where nubiles could massage people on the way to the islands and back. This is an operation, people. I mean, this is a major, massive operation with, more employees than a lot of small corporations. We had homes all over the place, right? Employees at all of them. Every one of those employees knew what was going on, right? 77 just on the island. Holy hell. Pilots. You realize how many people knew that this was going on? Bankers. The bankers were meeting new prospective clients on his islands and at his parties. You got any idea what that kind of introduction could do? Good God. If Elon Musk said, all right, yeah, I'll invest through you. This isn't a guy that says, yeah, I'll bring my my 401k over. I got $65,000 right now, and $30,000 in an account for my kids' college. We're talking about the richest man on planet Earth. Well, that's an intro, right? You realize the power brokering this guy was doing? And all the while videotaping these people, taking pictures of these people. He was an asset, to be sure, Joe. Question is, for who? Right? Who was he an asset for? Because the theories are that he was working for an alphabet agency here within the United States. The theory is also that he worked for the Mossad, right? It seems to me like the court systems in this country, they're pretty tied up. If he was working for somebody outside the U.S., they sure got a lot of pull with our court systems, right? Because they let an absolute child predator, right? Somebody that was human trafficking people for sex. They gave him 13 months of nights and weekends, right? So this corruption goes as absolutely as far up as you can, literally to Pennsylvania Avenue, right? literally to Pennsylvania Avenue. And on that one, people, we're going to call it a day, at least for Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to keep checking all of the wires. I don't see they're going to release this thing today on the holiday. I just don't see it. See the Mossad thing, Josh, I see that. And I think to myself, you know what? They could pull that off. They really could. They could pull that off. But could they get in and whack dude inside a jail and then get that inside a prison and then get that prison shuttered, right? A prison costs $110 million to build a federal prison. They got one shut down because they don't want people in there asking questions, looking around, doing anything. They didn't just, to investigate they just shut the entire place down. We're talking about some heavy duty pull, people. Heavy duty pull. They got him whacked or run alive, to whatever you want to call it. A lot of people, oh, by the way, we're going to knock this one out just real quick, right? Before I leave, a lot of people keep reaching out about this, about Masterson inside prison and all that. Listen, I stand by the things that I said, right? For real, I stand by them. You're not going to get too many people that are more protected than Larry Nassar. He's in the most protected you're ever going to want to get. He continually gets hit, right? People who are high profile, people are going to hit him. They're going to hit him just to get out and say they did, right? It's just one of those things that, you can keep naming them off, and they've all gotten the crap kicked out of them or stabbed or anything else. If nothing changes, at least we can change our views of the parties involved. That is huge in itself and disrupts the coin. There's something to that. There really is. And when people say, you know what, it's just low-hanging fruit for views. No, it's not. The people that worked for this cat haven't paid any penalty at all, right? Like the chef cooking for what's his name? No, man. These people didn't pay. This isn't low-hanging fruit. The problem is everybody's treated it like low-hanging fruit, right? Nothing to see here. We're waiting for the list. That'll be fun. No, man. Let's make some people pay for this, right? These kids. This is attempted murder of a soul. You understand that that's what this is? This is attempted murder of a soul. How many times? 5 a day? 6 a day? No, man. No. The people doing the laundry knew what was going on. There was nobody on that island didn't know what was going on. You gonna tell me? Google the pictures of the island. There's some weird temple on the island, and there's some creepy crap on that island. They're bad people. By the way, the temple on the island has a door that can't be opened from the inside. It can only be opened or locked from the outside. That's frightening as hell. Okay? When all of this comes out, don't miss the small stuff, and don't get hung up on, did this person sleep with it? Well, they saw what was going on, right? And that's everybody. That's everybody. I'll be really honest with you. I think it's great that he would kick him out of Mar-a-Lago. But I sure would have liked to have heard the story. Okay? I would have liked him to tell the world why he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Honestly, I think you come across people like that from here on out, right? And maybe this wasn't the way for a long time. But from here on out, you see something like that, tell somebody about it. With a bullhorn. You hear me? With a bullhorn. We live in a day and age where this thing, awful lot of power in those. Miss Sunrise Dawn, that is the great motivator for me as well. So I'm going to wrap this one up, people. It's my day that I talked to Alan Valentine, so I'm going to be getting off of this call. And I'll be honest with you, the cat is not in the basket. The cat is scared of me because I have just been, I've been struggling. So the cat's been, they can still shut you up. Well, they can try for sure, right? They've definitely shut up a lot of people. They have. But the courageous man dies once. The coward dies 1,000 times. And that's no fun, right? All right, everybody. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Do me a favor and leave a comment after this. It really does help. You guys are pushing the boat out farther. We're able to go full time. We're so excited about 2024 people. I can't begin to tell you. Yeah, they can quiet the people, but now they can't, right? Now I think we need to hear from all of those people. right? Unless they killed them all. And if they did, we need to know about that, don't we? But we need to know where these employees are. Stephen, Britton, it's an honor to have you here. Cheryl Jepson, good to see you. Love all of you. Tampa B, good to see you. Sherry, good to see you. Renee, glad you're here. There's my friend Sarah from Boston. Happy New Year to you too. Neat, good to see you. Lori T. BJ Burke. BJ Burke, good to see you. All right, Cav. Rune. Yeah. Yeah, well, they like that. That conspiracy theory thing, they really like. Here's what I'm here to tell you. I did time in prison, and I'm very familiar with how suicide watch works, and that cat wasn't on suicide watch. He was in a cell with a bunk bed. That's not suicide watch. He had linens and clothing. That's not suicide watch. He had a cellmate. Might have been away at the time, but he had a cellmate. That's not suicide watch. He should have been on a concrete platform in the middle of the room. There should have been nothing in that room except a blanket so thick you can't even fold it in half. It will straighten itself back out, right? That thick. It's just so that you have some privacy because you're wearing a dress. So your junk is probably exposed to the world if you don't have something covering you, right? But that's the only two things that are going to be in that room is going to be you and that blanket. And then underneath you is a blanket of the same size. It just becomes the mat that you sleep on. I'm from Germany. We had the Third Reich. People are able to believe and participate in outrageous things. Sad but true. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And when you're in the middle of it, and I understand, I more understand the fanaticism that starts to take place when wars, right? That there's a insanity that people get caught up in when wars start to take place. That kind of evil can just draw people in a way that other things can't, and pride and nationalism and all of the crap that can go with it. What gets really frightening to me is these people were quiet because they were paid. This was cash and cash only. And that's disgusting. It really is. Now, you're talking to a guy that was willing to do a lot of things for cash in his life. Man, you got to draw the line somewhere. Question, upon release, what are you given? Do they simply open the gate and say, have a nice day? Yes. You're given about $23 in cash, right? If you are going somewhere, they will provide you a bus ticket. I was released during the time of the pandemic. I was given an airline ticket instead of a bus ticket because of the fear of transmission of anything. They wanted me on an aircraft instead of a bus. Other than that, they give you nothing. You leave with the shirt on your back. Wow. That's a tough gig right there, Mountain Princess. That is a tough gig. That is not a pod you want to work. For real, that's tough. Hey, Katie Pie, good to see you. Will I be on later? Yeah, you betcha. I'm going to be on at 5 o'clock. And I want to tell you something. Yesterday, Steve Britton, I love that. Put that up, Calvin, would you? There are universal truths. Politicians are corrupt, never in writing, always in cash. And Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. I agree with you. He did not. But whoever did had a hell of a lot of juice because they got in there. There were two people that they were going to have to quiet. Whoever they got to take him off of suicide watch and put him in a regular cell, all of those things require a juice card that I don't know you could get unless you were doing it within the United States of America. I think that this one stinks from the inside, but that's just the opinion of a convict, right? What do I know? So we'll see tomorrow, people, and we'll be back tonight. I will be live at the normal time, 5 o'clock. Reese and I were funny last night. You know what? Last night was Reese's 1 year anniversary of being outed, right? And I just had a crazy thing right before we went live. I thought to myself, it's the 1 year anniversary, and I thought everybody's going to show up there. It's our 1 year anniversary. I guarantee you everybody will show up. But you know how easy it is for everybody to have the exact same thought? So I thought, you know what, man? The crew can get through a night. I'm going to go over there and say hi just in case no one's there. I would love to be able to say hello. And I dig going on with her. She's a crap load of fun to do shows with, man. And the odds that we were going to sport the same outfit. I mean, what are the odds of that, right? That's odd in and of itself. Those universal truths are from lawyer Robert Barnes. Well, how about that? Giving the man credit where credit is due. I like it. Sherry, everybody loves her. I don't know anybody that doesn't love Reese. You know, Reese is she's lovable. I know. And after the show we did, you weirdos went over to her. There was some polar bear stuff that you guys put over on Reese's channel. You guys are funnier than no shirt next time. I sent her the picture. You think I was kidding? I sent her a picture of me with no shirt on, just wearing that fur coat, and said, "Go ahead and put that one up." Now, whether or not I really did, it's really funny to say I did. No, but I did. At the matching jackets was you screenshotted the furs. I love it. You know, there was a little mock-up that was done by somebody, and they sent it to both myself and to Reese, and it said, you know, what a difference a year makes. And it showed a picture of Reese from 365 days earlier, you know, looking like she just walked out of a cult. And 365 days later, and she was just laughing hysterically with her fur on. And she just really was laughing hard. And I said to her, I was like, I love that. I think that's such a cool thing. And she said, no, I really love that too. So need to get my fur dry cleaned so I can wear it again, says Calhoun. Well, get it handled. Get out there and get that fur cleaned. Speaking of Calhoun, Spanky, since I've forgotten you on like the last 5 videos, why don't you pop in and say hello? How are you, my son?
Hey, crew. Hey, Dad. What's going
How's
on,
the
everyone?
capsaicin cramps?
Dude, like, so about 23 minutes into this video, they subsided. I'm waiting for round 2.
Yeah.
You guys
and they're
can't see
probably
what
coming.
I'm doing back here, but I was laying down for the first 15 minutes of the show. Kind of hurt. I am on a road to smashing a challenge in Salt Lake City before I leave. There's a local wind company called
get
Trolley
your training
Wind.
on for it. Let me see.
Yeah, they have
you
the
got that
enema.
tincture there?
Yeah, check it out. The enema sauce challenge is what I'm training for, but that's my dad's
Do you
face.
see the ugly dude? Do you see that ugly dude on the bottle? That's that was actually a tincture that they asked to put my face on. That was Tommy's Tink. That's called Jacked Up, and it has 1 gram of capsaicin crystals in it. By the way, that tincture was like 800,000 Scoville units, right? Before we put in a gram of capsaicin crystals.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I made sure to write on this one Jacked Up because I have another one that doesn't have. That doesn't have the crystals in it, but I have to remember which one's jacked up so I don't get jacked up.
I drank a bottle of the Jacked Up after doing a speed run on the Tube of Terror, and it was, without a joke, the worst pain I have ever felt in my life. It was as close to a 10 as I had ever come on the pain scale. It was excruciating, and it lasted like 8 hours, Calhoun. It was bad. Huggy Bear was in the house.
Yeah, you're insane.
Yeah, somebody other than Steve get the reference to Huggy Bear, please. What's that, Calhoun?
I said you're insane. If I were to hit a 10, there would be problems. I did 3 drops.
I've never hit a 10.
Yeah.
Never hit a 10.
Maybe you won't. It's probably perspective based. Because if you hit a 10, you're dead, right? I don't know. I think I don't think the 10's real. I think it's just imaginary. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I look forward to seeing a whole lot more of you this year and showing you a whole lot more of me. I got some things cooking up. Can't wait to share them with you.
What's my email? sober@myyahoo.com. There you go. Marley's mom got the reference. All right, everybody. We will see you tonight at our normal time. That would be 5 on the left coast. 5 o'clock left coast. He did show up in a movie from a while ago. True story. You know what? He's a sharp cat. Shelly, always a pleasure to see you. SJ,
Thanks,
always a pleasure. Lydia Von Stretchclaw, good to see you. Oh, there we go. And I hope you all are having a very happy and merry New Year. We'll see you all tonight. All right. I'm Captain Tommy. Bye-bye. Let's do that. Yeah.